This brings us to the debt bondage, and this is something that is very, very serious. In fact, right now, a lot of people are in bondage because exactly of this that I'm describing to you, where not only they are charged to come here and to get established, but then because they are the protectors of these individuals, then they don't want you to go and live together in an apartment with a group of 5. Oh no, you need to stay in that house that I will rent for you because I have to protect you. And so they become completely controlled by these traffickers, and they will not allow them to do or to go anywhere. And then not only are they owing back on the debt that they had, but now they have to pay back those living expenses for this place that now they are being kept on. So who are these people? Who are the traffickers? Organized crime, of course, but sadly, many times it's even family members or village chiefs back home in the home countries who know that these young people that are being told to go to the U.S. to pursue their American dream are being trafficked, and they are getting money on the side. Or families who think the sacrifice is worth it. If you go, yeah, this is going to be hard, you're going to have to pay some money, but you're going to make money, you're going to be able to send us money. And people sometimes are so desperate that they are willing to do this, to take this risk. The opportunity through business owners, and many times it happens that minority folks will start a new business, and they're doing really well. And then they use that as a medium to attract more of their fellow folks from home countries. But once they get here, it turns into a trafficking situation because they will not pay them correctly, they will not pay the benefits, they will not cover health care or any of those things. And before you know it, they're involved in a trafficking situation. The other one, the one that we hear about, sex trafficking. By a show of hands, has any of you ever heard of anything related to sex trafficking? Prostitution? A few of you. How many of you has a friend or had a friend when you were maybe in high school or early as you start college who decided to run away from home? Anyone knows anybody who was a runaway kid? I do know. Well, sex trafficking is a very interesting industry because many times we don't have a lot of mercy when we look at the hookers, the prostitutes. And we say, well, my gosh, why doesn't she get out of it? What's wrong with her? Well, you know, she's so hooked on the drugs. Well, maybe she likes it. She likes the party. She likes the lifestyle. She likes the excitement. We're going to explore what is behind that smoke screen on sex trafficking. The most important thing is to remember that anyone under the age of 18 who is induced to do commercial sex is being trafficked. And this is a very startling slide. And I know it's too much information for one slide, but I really do want you to have that chance to see, you know, what numbers are we talking about? Remember that I was mentioning a lot of children. An estimated 100 to 300,000 children are at high risk of commercial sex exploitation. That is a big number. Not only that, but at least 100,000 children are caught up in child prostitution. Do you ever guess that the age where people start prostituting themselves is 12 years old? Do you know anybody who's 12? Do you happen to have siblings who are 12? Could you imagine what would that be like if that person you know and you're thinking about right now was lost to human trafficking and to prostitution? And the key thing, and why I'm asking if you know anybody who was a runaway kid, is because 90% of runaway youth become involved in the commercial sex industry. Why? Because those kids were looking for attention, for love, for someone to tell them they're important, they're beautiful, someone to show them a good time. It's very easy for them to get involved in this. Many times, sadly, a lot of these poor families use children as a means to produce an income. So many times it runs in families, and it's a horrible thing to say, but it's almost like, it's like a culture. It runs in families, it runs in communities where children are used to provide for the subsistence needs. And also, the markets are out there. And those kids that run away, there's a story that we heard in one of our cases where there was this young girl from Cleveland, and she was a rebel and she wanted to be cool, and the parents were very strict and whatever, and then she met some guy who was in college, and he started just treating her nice, and you're so beautiful, and let me take you here, and let me take you to the mall, and I'll buy you this just because you're pretty. And before you knew it, this girl really got engaged in prostitution and drugs. So you never really know what may be the cause of this, because this was not a runaway kid. This was the daughter of someone that had a professional career and a job. So you don't have to come from a very poor home environment to be tempted by this kind of situation. The other reasons why there is a lot of minor sex trafficking is that in many areas there are a lot of transient male communities. Near where there are bases, military bases, is an area where often there will be a lot of this sex trafficking. Sadly, when there are big conventions and events, that's another huge, huge opportunity for these sex traffickers to do their business. The many stops around the highway, do we all sometimes see this bunch of 18-wheelers, the trailers just there overnight? That is another side where a lot of this sex trafficking is taking place. And then gangs. In fact, right now you may have heard in the news how there is a lot of problem with the Salvadorian gangs and the use of children as sex trafficking, because a child alive is a great commodity. And you can get out quite a bit of money of the life of one child. These pimps control the children. And as the example that I was telling you about, once they are seduced, then they use all kinds of tactics and techniques to instill fear in that person and to force them into staying with them. And they become extremely obedient, and sometimes they feel like, I have to obey to this person because he is my protector. On one hand, he's abusing you, but he's protecting you. He's taking care of you, because how can you go back home now? What would your mom do? What would your dad do? So there's a lot of psychological warfare that is going on there. And they know how to play the children really, really well. And they allow these people to control their lives. What about Ohio? Well, not only are we a destination, but we're also a place of recruitment. And probably during the last few days when you've been hearing a lot of conversation about human trafficking, you've learned that Toledo ranks very high in the country. And because of its proximity to the foreign border with Canada and its proximity to major highways, it is a hub of perfect location for this kind of business. This is a really bad statistic for us in Ohio. And this is one of the primary reasons why we are working so hard in our state to make sure that this does not happen anymore. And in fact, in December 2010, the Governor Strickland signed the bill, Senate Bill 235, which is a bill that states that human trafficking will be considered in Ohio a stand-alone felony. Prior to that, it was not considered a stand-alone felony. And it was extremely, extremely hard to be able to convict someone on those charges. So they were having a great time. Why not Ohio? You can do whatever you want and they will not be able to prosecute you.